Better Together, Ball State University and Muncie, a series of community forums hosted by the Star Press and Ball State University. From the Minnetrista Cultural Center, the theme of the second of 3 community forums will be arts and culture.
Good evening. Good evening, I'm Greg Fallon. I'm the executive editor of the Star Press. Welcome to our second of 3 Better Together community forums. Thank you for joining us, whether you are here tonight at Minnetrista or via broadcast. We are broadcasting live on the Facebook page for the Star Press and for Ball State tonight. Tonight we will discuss arts and culture and how Ball State and Muncie can work together to address the issues. I would like to take time to thank Ball State President Jeff Mearns for joining us tonight and listening to the community as we start a new chapter of Ball State's partnership with Muncie. We should also take a moment to appreciate how President Mearns and his wife Jennifer have already made a personal commitment to Muncie by establishing the Mearns Proud Family Scholarship for Muncie Central students who will be first in their families to go to college. President Mearns and his wife have given $100,000 to the fund, and with their donations and others, the fund now already has more than $400,000. I would also like to thank tonight's panel of community leaders and Ball State experts who are joining us tonight. We have Lee Edwards, the board president of Muncie Civic Theater. We have Ryan Horgan, director of Ball State School of Music. We have Akila Nosakari, the director of the Muncie Public Library. We have Tanya Seid, director of education for the Owsley Museum of Art. And we have Tom Bracken, a member of the Ball State Board of Trustees and president of the George and Frances Ball Foundation. Thank you for them being here tonight. Appreciate them. So if you attended our first forum, and I notice a lot of new faces tonight, so maybe you didn't, but perhaps you watched the rebroadcast of it. Tonight will be a little different from our first one. President Mearns wants to speak less and listen more. So we're going to try to appease him with that tonight. I will ask questions, and as you walked in tonight, hopefully you picked up a card that has some prepared questions on it. Those questions are for you, not for them. So you should be reading through those and thinking of some answers, and we will be inviting you to come up and speak to the panel directly. If you have questions of your own tonight, we will also be fielding those. You should have had the opportunity to pick up blank note cards as you walked in, and if you didn't, we certainly have folks around who can get you one. Just raise your hand. We'll be glad to bring you one. But any questions that you would like to submit to the panel tonight, we would ask that you do so in writing. And then Phil Beebe from the Star Press, who wore an appropriately bright yellow shirt tonight, will be happy to take those from you and bring those up to me for consideration, okay? Everyone is welcome to participate tonight. We want to hear from as many of you as possible. My role as MC is pretty simple. It's just to ensure no one person dominates the conversation tonight and that we respectfully address issues and not attack individuals. These forums are just one of many ways in which President Mearns is gathering information. After the public forums, President Mearns will summarize what he has heard and outline what steps the university will take. So enough of me and more from them. Let's get started. And to do so tonight, I would like for us to hear a little bit from each of our panelists, maybe just a minute or two from each of them, and we'll just go right down the line. Why they think they're here tonight. They were, of course, invited. But what do they do in the arts and culture community, which, of course, is our topic of discussion tonight, and what are their connections already with the university? So we'll start with Lee.
Absolutely. I am Lee Edwards, and this is my 3rd term as board president of Muncie Civic Theater. And Ball State and Muncie Civic Theater have had an amazing partnership over the years. Really, we got you guys involved in every aspect, from ticketing. Our box office is staffed with Ball State students to all kinds of things regarding our production. We actually do 3 shows that completely involve production teams that are Ball State theater majors. And it's just amazing how that has helped us so much to develop our programs and things like that. We also have 2 currently immersive learning programs that we're doing in lighting and sound design, and we're working on a 3rd with Ball State now. So it's been amazing, and I'll tell you what, Muncie Civic Theater is truly a theater for the whole community. And it's been so wonderful that Ball State is such a large part of our community that we could fully integrate them into it. So I'm just so thankful that you're here and that Ball State's a part of Delaware County and Muncie Civic Theater.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ryan Harrigan. I'm the director of the School of Music at Ball State University, and I see my other colleagues in the audience from the College of Fine Arts, which I'm hoping that they're going to help me out tonight. I have no idea why I was asked to do this, but I am involved in the... The School of Music hosts about 300 events a year in Sursa Hall. We have many community outreach programs, from our sensory-friendly concerts for kids with disabilities to a program that I run. I see that Michael Dane's here, I co-founded, called the PRISM Project, which I like to tout is one of the oldest immersive learning projects on campus, oldest continuing immersive learning projects on campus, where we bring 45 students with disabilities to campus every Saturday in the spring and put on a capstone performance. And we'll be celebrating our 10th year this year. And we will also, we've expanded the program to 5 other cities around with the Ball State name. My colleagues in the College of Fine Arts do a fantastic job of providing cultural outreach in the community, whether it be our kids' student teaching in our schools or providing what we call outreach events. Like, for example, we partner with the Symphony Orchestra to have quintets and quartets go out and play in the schools and teach them about classical music. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you about how us in the College of Fine Arts and the School of Music could reach out and do more in the community.
Okay, thanks.
Well, my name is Akila Nasakari. I'm the new librarian, the library director at Muncie Public Library, and I'm also a hometown girl. I came from Muncie. And I was lucky enough to be selected the director of the Muncie Public Library, and I was just overwhelmed by all of the wonderful programming that the Muncie Public Library does. I think I'm here because the library is one of the key pillars in the community, and we provide services of art and culture to all, from all different walks of life. And I have stepped into some very big shoes, and we and my staff, and we're trying to cover the waterfront in Muncie in terms of art and culture, and we're expanding every day, every day.
Good.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tanya Seid. I'm the Director of Education at the David Owsley Museum of Art. I can tell you that the museum does so much for the community, and we're growing this by leaps and bounds all the time. We have free exhibitions, free admission every day of the week. We're open every day of the week. While parking is not always free, it is free at the weekends, and I think that's important to emphasize. I would like to also add that it's not entirely clear to me why I was invited. I tried to tell my director about this opportunity so that he would be so excited that he would jump on board, but he very graciously said, no, you were invited, you should do it. So possibly the reason why I was asked is because I have been in this position for 12 years. When I was first hired, it was specifically to make the museum more community friendly, and I think we're doing that. We now have over 33,000 visitors per year, and they are definitely not all students, lots of community members, and even people coming as tourists from far afield, and I think that's important, and not just alumni in that group, I might add. I did go to school here in Muncie. I went to college at Ball State. I moved back here from Washington, D.C., where I had been working for 12 years. And so I'm very proud to be the community face of the museum, to assure that everybody knows that they are welcome to the museum, and that we will work to the greatest degree we possibly can to make sure that we are always accessible and people find all the different ways to connect with us. So I certainly look forward to hearing from everybody this evening. I want to say I'm happy to see many friendly faces in the audience too.
My name is Tom Bracken. I'm born and raised here in Muncie. Went through the Muncie Community Schools and was gone for many years, and then in 2012 came back. And my day job is with the Jordan and Frances Ball Foundation, and that puts me in contact with a lot of organizations around town. So many of the arts and culture organizations, some of the panelists that are here tonight, and so I've become aware of the depth of the arts and cultural offerings that Muncie has. And so I'm privileged to be able to play a role in that. And then I also serve on the Ball State Board of Trustees, which is a volunteer position, and but is also quite a privilege. And I've become aware, I mean, it doesn't take long to become aware of what an important role Ball State plays in the Muncie community, and the necessity of those two entities working well together. And so I think that is a very appropriate topic for tonight. And I'm grateful that President Mearns has made it a focus of his administration.
Okay, thanks. So, as I said, enough of them. We want to hear from you, right? So let me just, if you don't have your card, get your card out. And the first question is, Ball State would like to have more community members attend athletic and arts and cultural events. What would attract you perhaps better than they already are doing? And you heard about some of the cultural side. So I'm going to stick President Mearns with talking just a little bit about athletics. And I know you've been to some football games already. Just give us your thoughts on the athletic program at Ball State, and then I expect a line to start forming up here to start answering that question, and pass your questions that you might have for the panelists on over to Phil as well. So come on up if you'd like to discuss and answer that first question.
Great. So thank you, Greg, and also thank you to all my colleagues here. I appreciate your willingness to join us and have this conversation with the community today. So thank you very much. So about athletics. Athletics is plays an important role in the relationship between a university and the community. You know, universities often recognize that athletics is one way in which a university can drive its reputation in a positive respect. But we've all seen just most recently with the news yesterday out of the federal prosecutors in New York, that what happens with your collegiate athletes and on those programs can also substantially diminish your reputation. It's sometimes referred to as the front door to a university, but it's also the front door to the community. And we talk about athletics at Ball State in terms of three principal aspirations. One is competitive success. That's one aspect of what our student athletes and our coaches aspire to achieve. By the way, we're 2-0 at home in football. Right? And our other teams are competing very well. But that's not the sole way in which we measure success in our athletics programs. The other is academic excellence. And our student athletes, for all combined across all sports last spring, had a collective GPA of about 3.2. Okay? Our women's swimming and diving team, and those of you who know how much swimmers and divers practice, our women's swimming and diving team last spring had a team GPA of 3.65. So whenever I speak about our student athletes, I always talk about how they conduct themselves and their commitment to academic excellence. And that requires a commitment not just from the athletes, but from the coaches and the other staff in the program. And the third dimension is conducting themselves with integrity, conducting themselves as good sportsmen. And so I would encourage you as members of the community, when you contemplate being engaged with and supporting our student athletes with your attendance at their events, please come not simply because they're going to succeed on the field, but come to support them because they are representing the university and you in all three of those dimensions. Their success on the field, their success in the classroom, and the way they conduct themselves with integrity and honor. They deserve your success. They're not just our student athletes, they're your teams as well.
And I would add to that, though, I think the athletic programs at Ball State, and if any of the panelists want to chime in on this, are well known for being involved in the community, right? And you know, the Star Press recently had its 20 under 40 program, and one of those honorees was Malik Perry, who is a former basketball player. He not only was involved, but he stayed around. He's now a part of our community. So do any of you have experience with either athletes or otherwise? I mean, the students who are involved in culture programs and athletics are obviously outgoing, and you already talked a little bit about, you know, some of the involvement that you have at Muncie Civic Theater. Would any of you like to chime in on that?
I would chime in on that.
Sure.
We also have a number of students who participate in the immersive learning program. We have at the Marilyn Hunt Library a community garden project, and Dr. Pam Harwood and her students are building this wonderful outdoor learning experience, not only for the library, but for the Thomas, Avondale, and the whole of South of Muncie to enjoy. So we have that aspect of Ball State working within the community. As well as in our public relations office, we have interns from the Department of Communications who work with us. Throughout the library, we have interns working in the various departments. So as far as athletes, I don't know if they're athletes or not, but I know that they get a lot of work done. Yeah, they're students. And we also work with the international students, the Pan-African Leadership Program. We've had 2 wonderful experiences this year with students from the international realm, all through Ball State University.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'll chime in. I know student athletes are always really busy, but I will tell you that we had a track team member this past summer as an intern, and she was absolutely stupendous. I thought she was a great asset, especially because we have this new sports-related exhibition that's opening this week on Friday called Action, the Anatomy of Leroy Neiman's Champions. And so if anybody knows Leroy Neiman's art and the columns that he's written, this will be a really exciting exhibition and maybe unexpected because it's sports related and it's in the museum. But she said to me she would have never been able to do an internship in the spring or the fall, but definitely she used every spare hour she possibly could in the summer, and I can tell you her industriousness and her commitment made all the difference to be able to have someone sports-minded in the museum to help with that exhibition.
Sure. Now, again, you're supposed to come up and answer the questions. So somebody's going to have to take the bait and come up first. But let me just say, for 5 years prior in my professional life, I was the sports editor at the Star Press, and I have always wondered why more Muncie people don't come to Ball State athletic events. And here's your chance to come up and say why. I'm sure that the criticisms will be taken with good heart, and that's why we're doing this. So, and if you want to come up and answer any of the other questions, then by all means, we don't have to stick to that specific question. Ryan, while we're waiting for the next person to come up, can you talk a little bit? I'm blown away that you have 300 performances. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I assume most, if not all, are open to the public. And no, you tell us. Tell us about the 300 and not each one, but what do we get? What do we get?
Well, I would like to add also that my colleague in the room, Bill Jenkins in the back, he has, how many do you have during the course of the year? Probably the same, about 150
wow.
in the year. And what I'd like to know the same answer to the question that,
Sure.
that you ask athletics versus our music events. We bring people to town that if you would go see them even in Indianapolis, they would cost you 3, 4, 5 times the price. And what we really work hard on, like for example, we had Isabel Leonard here last night. She is a high-end opera singer, but she did an all Leonard Bernstein program for our Arts Alive. We have an Arts Alive program that's 3 concerts a year, high-end people. The St. Lawrence String Quartet is coming, and the Amati Woodwind groups. And these are the kind of acts or programs that if you would see in Indianapolis, would cost you $150, and our tickets are $35, or
Sure.
$20. Student tickets, I think, are $10. And so we work really hard to get the word out. I'm thinking that maybe we do a lot of things and we don't know which ones are, the signature events. And I would say our showcase concert at the beginning of the year is a really good one. Tickets are $20 and all the money goes to student scholarships. And then our Arts Alive series is a series that is of the high-end artists, and then our ensembles are right now at probably at the highest level they've been. Our band, choirs, orchestras, chamber music is probably at the highest level they've been in a decade. And so if you're looking for high-level music, it's here. It's and the tickets are cheap. And we do about 300, shows a year. And also, you've probably heard about our outstanding theater and dance program. The shows there are pro level. A lot of our kids go, to Broadway or to Chicago or to LA. And if you go see one of our shows, there's not much of a difference between what we're doing over in theater and dance than what we're doing in the pro world. So, and the tickets again are reasonable, and you'll get to see lots of really great art. And so we're very interested in how we can get you on campus and come to our events.
If you wouldn't mind, I would invite you to come up, only because we're broadcasting and we've got the cameras set up. So come on up and start the line, and I'm happy to hold the mic, but we definitely want to hear from you. So
I was trying not
Come
to
on.
be the first one.
That's okay. That's all right. We don't mind at all. We don't mind at all. I will ask tonight, because we didn't do this before, if you can just be sure to say your name, and if you have any affiliation with any groups in town, just it's sort of interesting to see who all's here tonight.
Okay, Terry Witte Bailey, Director of Community Development for the City of Muncie. I was the President and CEO of Cornerstone Center for the Arts from 2004 until 2010, so my background is in arts administration.
Sure.
So thank you for providing this platform for those of us who really have the arts in our heart. What I would say is, connected to what you mentioned, President Mearns, about athletics, you did it from the beginning, and you called the first game, home game, Muncie Day. And you allowed people in the community to feel a part of the activities that were going on at Ball State. And there is not a day that goes by since that day of that game that I have not seen a person in the red T-shirts that were passed out. If you watch throughout the community, those T-shirts mean a lot in the community. So there's the connection. The School of Music does the same thing. You provide complimentary tickets to many of your productions, and when I can't go, I send my mom and one of her friends, and so then they get excited about it and they tell others. So as we connect the community to the university, calling it a Muncie Day or calling it Community Day or calling it Family Day, Muncie Civic Theater does that quite often, creates family-related activities. When you include the family, then you get people out, and once they're out and they're excited about the events that they go to, then they want to do more. So we're doing it. I think we just need to do more of it.
Okay, thanks. Come on up. All right, who do we have?
My name is Tom Schwartz. I have been retired for 11 years. I moved to Muncie in 2006 and immediately OD'd on all of the music programs. That's something I especially enjoy. But what Ryan said, it was nice of him to say that many of the tickets are very inexpensive, but I would emphasize the fact that if you look at the roster of programs, every single day at Sursa Hall, for example, or Choral Hall, you will find 3:30, 5:30, and 7:30, and most of them are free. 7 o'clock, parking is free on campus. You all know that. So please encourage all people to come to these concerts because they're wonderful. I was amazed, and I'll make this brief.
You're okay.
When I moved here, I saw, for example, an amazing trombone ensemble. And I said, this sound fills the place. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And it was free. And I turned to a person who was an administrator at that time. I sing with him in choir. And I said, where are the students of the music programs in town that should hear this and be inspired by these kinds of programs? And they're not there. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and it's free. I go to all of them.
Yeah, sign this guy up. He's ready. He's ready. Come on up. So a good idea there, maybe some outreach with the schools.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you want to go ahead?
On that, we've been able to leverage a corporate partnership that we have with an Indiana company called Consumer Inc. They're one of the largest band instrument manufacturers in the world, and they have been underwriting free tickets to our big events. For example, our showcase concert, they underwrote 100 tickets, and we were able to get 100 Delaware County students in the audience. And we reach out to area schools to say, hey, we have these 100 tickets. We're going to do that again in the spring. So if you know of a music teacher or you know of someone that we can help coordinate efforts, we always will comp student tickets. That's always the case. But we just need help in coordinating, and we reach out. We don't always get the response.
Sure. That's great.
I
Great.
can also chime in
Yeah,
real
sure,
quick
Tom.
with an answer.
Sure.
The Muncie Symphony Orchestra has a program they call Music on the Move, and they take Ball State students in kind of a quartet or a quintet of either winds, brass, or strings, and they tour them around to the elementary schools in town and outside of town. They go out to the county as well, and I've attended a few of those, and they're excellent. The musicians introduce themselves and their instruments and how they got into music, and these kids, I mean, the music programs in the Muncie Community Schools have kind of fallen by the wayside. So this is really one of their big ways to become introduced to the instruments and music. And so, of course, the idea is that hopefully as they grow older, maybe they'll take an interest in it and, of course, come to campus and listen to some of these great concerts.
That's great. Great.
I'm Marilyn Clary. I'm the current executive director of Cornerstone Center for the Arts. And I guess my biggest concern and thoughts are when you talk about how to enhance the arts in the community. What I don't see, or what I get frustrated with, is that bridge of there's some remarkable arts going on downtown Muncie, and has been for years. Muncie Civic Theater, Cornerstone Center for the Arts, Muncie Symphony Orchestra, Minnetrista, and they have children's program. We have students interacting with us. But I'm not sure the students know about us unless we do our own Facebook, our own social media, or whatever, to get onto the Ball State campus to get that information known. And it works the other way. So much of Ball State information, I'm a privileged source, so I get it all in the mail. You know, if you're a contributor, everyone in this room probably gets it. But there's parts in the neighborhoods that don't get it. They don't know what's free. They don't know what's out there. They don't know what the buses are. So, I mean, there has been talk a lot of bringing a full website of when you're in Muncie, what can you do? And a whole day of you're visiting today, this is what's going on in Muncie. But it's not just Ball State, and it's not just downtown. It's all of us. And I think we're getting stretched, and my frustration is we not-for-profits are working on a very small budgets. We're also trying to uphold historic museums, historic buildings, aren't we, Lee?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's huge, huge costs. Now, whether the community wants to support that and keep those buildings, which I think is just as important for Ball State to want to keep our historic buildings. So that's my issue, is the bridge. And we also have interns. We have a wonderful intern program that we bring Ball State students in. Our Ball State volunteers, we could not do it. They are getting ready for our community Halloween party. Thank goodness they do it. You know, they've done our Christmas. We count on them. But they usually come in and say, oh, I didn't know you guys were here. What do you do? And it works both ways. And people like you're saying all these things, what, you know, Whiteley neighborhood, how much in that community knows this and how can they get there? So I'm thinking that's where I would like to see the bridge happen. Not so much add what we already have, but communicate and talk to each other about what we have, and then work together on support, finances, you know, how can we make this happen?
Sure.
Marilyn, I'd love to jump in on that. You're absolutely right. We're all on a shoestring budget, and she mentioned we are in the middle of a capital campaign. But the thing is, sorry, shameless plug.
I gave you the chance.
Hashtag
hint,
uphold
nudge, nudge.
Muncie Civic.
Okay.
But the thing is so true. I think it would be wonderful to figure out a way. We have done a great job of partnering with volunteers.
Yes.
But as far as, you know, being part of that welcome package, that would be awesome. And I know I can speak for myself, but also for the other not-for-profits that are in downtown Muncie, especially in the arts. We're all willing to give away stuff, give away tickets, free opportunities, and just being able to get our foot in the door, because a lot of times, you know, I own a 17-year-old who's going to be a college kid next year, and he got his first acceptance from Ball State University.
He doesn't need any others.
Yes, exactly, that's it. But it is amazing how, as they get a little bit older, you do kind of pick and choose, and what I've found is that a lot of times, they don't know how cool it is to come to a play at Muncie Civic Theater or to come see something at Cornerstone. And so just opening up that bridge so that they can kind of get to know us and understand what we're all about, that would be such a value, because we have benefited so much from both professors. We have so many amazing Ball State professors that volunteer as directors and help us find volunteers and things like that. But it would be great to just have more kids in the theater enjoying shows and things like that. So that would be amazing.
Great, thanks. We've got a little line going. This is fantastic. All right.
Get it started.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lynn Witte. I actually am a retired physician in town, and I got up to speak towards the athletic department, but I started out at Ball State. I'm an alumni, and I was a music major, attended a lot of music events, and I will speak, Marilyn was exactly right. Even myself living here, I have to hunt through a lot of different things to find out what's going on. I almost missed the little red door opportunity the other night, and I'm in medicine. So, but as far as athletics, one of the things that's really helped me, we have a thing called Cardinal Cooks, where we actually have the players come into our homes and we cook for them, and we really get to know them. And Trey Moses is actually nationally known. He's a basketball player who works with autistic children, and they come to the games, and they sit right there in front, and he talks to them afterwards, and he's been publicized for his problems with depression, and it's just fascinating that everyone else knows about him, and a lot of people in Muncie don't. Same thing about some of the football players, and I think one of the great things that I've been able to gain is learning about the different players and their really unique opportunities that they present to their community and learning more about them. But and I will also say that most of the people, or it seems to me, there are a whole lot of alumni at the football games, basketball games. We don't have as many students when we notice, and that's one of the big things. I see a lot of them coming in, and then I see a lot of them leaving and not really staying. So
if I could for just a moment,
sure.
why is that? I'm just curious from your perspective. Why is that important to you? Whether or not Ball State students attend? Is it just an atmosphere sort of thing for you?
No, I think it's a driving force for the university itself. I mean, you have students that are proud to be at Ball State. My daughter just got accepted to Ball State, her first choice, so we're very excited. And so it's great. I have twins, and that was the only place she wanted to go. And I think the atmosphere of the students means they're excited about where they're going. My daughter doesn't think of, oh, it's Ball State in Muncie, as other people might look at it. And so just the atmosphere, the proud in their pride in the school, and just getting them involved in that would lead to other things. I know I've gone to some musical events that I thought, well, I'm going to look and see what's available, but I think drawing it all together would be very helpful. But I think also really highlighting the individuality of some of the people that we have. Coach New has done an amazing job, and I know he gets a lot of publicity, and he puts the athletes first when he's talking about people, but I'm not sure how far it gets out into the community and to people coming in. And they're just amazing people. They're just like you said, all three things, they've got that. And so I think those are some of the issues that I see, and some of the real positive things that we could expand on.
Okay, great. Yeah, and that certainly speaks to what you were saying, right? I mean, they're not just suited up to go play a sport, or they're not just wearing a trombone. These are kids that, have personalities, and wait, you don't wear trombones, do you? I tried so hard. I was close. Wearing a tuba, right? Yeah, okay. But they are students. No? I'll stop.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So student attendance at athletic events, not just at Ball State, but at institutions all across the country, is a challenge. And one of the challenges is because they can watch every game on their device.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So we see, and it's not just our campus, but as I say, it's campuses all across the country with rare exceptions. And those are the ones that you might see on Saturday afternoon at 3:30. But television and the accessibility of television has depressed student attendance a bit. The other challenge that we face in that regard, and it also relates to television, is that because of the conference contract with television, 3 of our 6 home games this year are not on Saturday afternoons. I think we have 2 on Thursdays, and 1, our rivalry game, the big new rivalry game, is on the Tuesday night of Thanksgiving weekend. Right? So I don't know about you, I'm going to be at the game on Tuesday night, but most of our students will have been gone, and I would think most people in virtually every community in the country will be preparing for celebrating that holiday with their family. So again, that's driven by the television contract, but I think in conferences like ours, like the MAC, we have to maybe rethink the value of the monetary value of that television contract and what it does in terms of having Saturday afternoon football games when you have your big rivalry game at the end of the season. So those are things that we're starting to look at.
Great. Okay.
I'm Cornelius Dawson, past president of the Whitey Community Council, our neighborhood association, and we have greatly benefited from everyone on this panel with as a neighborhood association, and we greatly appreciate that. But Marilyn Clary, she stole a little of the thunder that I wanted to mention about going to Ball State. Parking is always a problem, seems like, but those on the lower social economic area, it's hard to try to change the culture and let people understand that appreciation of the arts and the culture and all of this is something that could really benefit those who really hadn't had a chance to benefit from visiting a good concert and hearing a good ensemble and all of that we are able to do. And that's what we try to do as a neighborhood association. We're trying to change that perception of something that can be well worthwhile and you could benefit greatly from it. And so that's the part that we're trying to do is how can we change that marketing of the arts and the cultural events that Ball State have, and even those that the Civic, to get people involved with the Civic and get people involved with our library and going to the museum and all of those. So we just wanted to say that that's one of the things that we have to get across that bridge and
Sure.
and market the arts and the culture to where it can benefit our community.
And so, Ryan, you were talking about, trying to reach out to students who maybe don't have that opportunity. Interesting idea here, I think, that there are neighborhoods as well who maybe are not exposed to arts and cultures. I know that you and Mary would both be willing to, facilitate that conversation with the Whiteley Community Council, right?
We sure would.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming up. I appreciate it.
And I had a question, and for anyone who doesn't know, Cornelius is a fabulous actor. He was recently on Muncie Civic Theater stage. But I agree with you, but my curiosity is, do you have any ideas for how to market to the community?
That's one of the things that we work so hard at trying to do.
I think I have an idea how we could do that. You have the public library, which is highly respected in all aspects of society. And we have opportunities to bring the music, the arts, and the athletics from Ball State into the community at Kennedy, at Connection Corner, Marin Hunt. Bring them in that way. When you were talking, I thought, oh, wow, be nice to have the Symphony at the Garden and Marion Hunt. Wouldn't that be nice? Or have some type of musical event, even at Connection Corner, even in Whiteley. We have all that open space. It'd be great. It'd be really good. So we could do that.
Could I add to that too?
Sure, absolutely.
I agree. The libraries would be an excellent way to do more outreach, and the community centers would be another way to do it. And I would add too that part of the key of encouraging people to know these opportunities is we have to overcome the financial issues. We also have to overcome the access issues in terms of, if we can, transportation and their awareness. And so one thing that we're doing at the Art Museum is we just started SMART Tours, which stands for School Museum Art Readiness Tours, so that every fourth grader in Muncie will have a chance to visit the Art Museum and see Indiana art. So that means every fourth grader at Grissom, Longfellow, Southview, Northview, Westview, and East Washington Academy, yes. Grissom just came yesterday, and I was just looking at all the results of those surveys from the kids, and I have to tell you, so many kids said, I had no idea it was here. One of the questions was, what are you going to tell your family when you go home? That we should go. That kind of answer is exactly what we want to hear. And just because it's an era of shameless plugs, I will just mention, we're even giving kids a little packet of information with sketchbooks, a pencil, so they can sketch in the museum and continue their experience. And this was all paid for by the Ball Brothers Foundation. And we would not have been able to do this if we didn't have the money. And I might add, all the relationships across the community. So we've been seeding this for a long time. And my hope is that when we have the celebration event for all the kids with their families, that we should go more and again, just happens and becomes a regular part of family life. So as much as we can get kids when they're young and come to the museum, go to the theater, visit and experience all that Ball State has to offer, it really does make a difference. And I thank you.
If I may chime in just
Sure.
one more. to bring it all back to reality now. You're talking about your museum. Well, we have a program, after-school program at the Marilyn Library, and we have the Great Achievers program. And we have been working very, very hard to get a bus to take our
And they're
kids
coming
in.
next week.
Good, because we've had nothing but access issues, with the
Yes.
bus. Them
Gary
coming
Chin
at the
is
same
great.
time. Good.
He made
good.
that happen, and buses were supported by Ball Brothers Foundation for all the Muncie Community Schools kids to come too.
Good, because yesterday the word was we couldn't get there, and I'm glad to hear that.
They will get there, and we will help any organization that wants to come as far as we can figure it out. We don't have deep pockets, but we will do everything we can to support that possibility.
Sure, I don't want anyone to think that your questions that you're submitting are going unnoticed. I'm trying to monitor them and ask questions, and but I mean, here's a question right off a card. What are BSU and the arts community doing to reach out to secondary education? She's answering the questions you're already asking. So I'm keeping an eye on them, and I want you to continue to submit those. After the first forum, I gave President Mearns the stack of every question that was asked. The ones I read and the ones I didn't. So it's an opportunity for you to communicate directly to him, either through question or comment. Go ahead and pass those still along, and he will get all of them, even if I don't get to reading to them, because we're getting such a nice line now of people with comments. So come on up.
Well, I'm Van Nelson, and I'm president of an organization called the East Central Indiana Chamber Orchestra. I grew up in this community. I served as a faculty member at Ball State University for 44 years. Now, our organization has its mission to provide free concerts for underserved areas of Muncie and Delaware County. And we seek venues off the campus. I think that's very important. As I was researching for grants, and we're supported by grant money and donations, and we use our grant money to much of it goes to support scholarship aid for Ball State students, particularly string players, to augment the orchestra. It's valuable for them and us. The value to them is it gets them outside the safe cocoon of Ball State and gets them out in the community. And I encourage them, when we give our concerts, to go out and mix with the people, to talk with the people. As I researched for the grants that I've written for the orchestra, one thing that I found was a book by Leonard Slatkin, who now conducts the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and he talked about the value of taking the music out to the people rather than performing in their hall in downtown Detroit. I think that's important. As we go out to the people with free concerts, I think that encourages them to hear the music and then come back and participate in programs at Ball State.
Sure.
So that's our mission.
Ryan, would you like to speak to that? I mean, how often, the facilities are obviously amazing. Sursa Hall is beautiful. How often do groups get off of campus and perform in the community?
Well, I'll give you an example. Our Ball State Symphony Orchestra just went on a tour of northern Indiana up and came back down through the Muncie area. Our orchestra's out a lot. Again, we mentioned Music on the Move, that we partner with the Muncie Symphony Orchestra. It is a big undertaking for us to find an appropriate venue out into the community to do a concert, but I'm getting some ideas today by listening that maybe we do need to schedule something, South Side or somewhere in the where there's a gymnasium or something, and really bring this out. We don't really go into the Muncie community probably as much as we should with the larger groups. I want to piggyback on that last comment.
By all means.
I wouldn't say benefited, because I hate to benefit over someone else's loss, but the Youth Symphony of East Central Indiana, which is partners with the School of Music, acquired the string instruments from Wilson Middle School when they closed down. And we have, I don't know if Tiffany Arnold is in the room, but we started a little pilot program where folks from Motivate Our Minds could get a free instrument and get enrolled into the Youth Symphony of East Central Indiana. I'm more interested in not just providing an arts experience for students, but my other hat that I wear is I'm a music education professor, so I'm sorry. It's a little
That's wonderful.
But I truly believe that the fact that our music education programs, there's some shining stars in the district, and I'm just making a sweeping judgment, have been in such turnover and have not had a success in some of our arts programs. I don't even know if there's visual art right now in the public schools as much as it should be. And if you take a look at Muncie and you take a look at Fishers, or you take a look at Muncie, or even Kokomo, and you look at the education that the students get in the arts, it's night and day. And I think that we're really doing our students in our public schools a disservice by not providing a comprehensive arts education. It's one thing to give the kids a one-off experience. It's another to say that, you know, arts education fosters creativity. You know, Steve Jobs writes very much in a lot of his writings about the idea that he wanted to hire an engineer that was creative, and oftentimes he would find an arts, you know, major of some kind that also had either a math or an engineering degree, and that's what created Apple.
Sure.
So, you know, I think that, I mean, if we're going to get down and dirty and talk brass tacks, I think that just providing experiences is one thing, but providing opportunity is another.
Sure, sure. Mark?
Hi, my name is Bill Jenkins. I'm the chair of the Department of Theater and Dance. I've been here for 18 years, chair for 15 years, and my affiliation with Ball State is 26 years, as I was an undergraduate student at Ball State University. I want to first of all say to my colleague Michael Dane, who's in the audience, who's worked with Ryan on the PRISM project, one of the ways we in the Theater and Dance program have really tried to sort of be that bridge that was being discussed was that Michael really has taken over with his students a lot of the theater education that's happening in the Muncie Community Schools. His students are directing a lot of those shows, and if his students aren't doing it, graduates from Ball State's Department of Theater and Dance, Kim Roos-Roberts at Muncie Central, she's doing it. And so one of the things that I think is most important from my perspective is we want to know from all of you what it is that you need from us to come to the schools. We'll go anywhere. We'll do anything that's ultimately going to bring the arts to the schools, because we know that's the future audiences that we're developing and the future students. We have 1,500 students that we auditioned for 40 slots in our acting and musical theater program. So anytime I hear somebody talk about, you know, Ball State University, somebody getting into Ball State University that's local and saying, do I really want to go to Ball State? We have people from across the country who would do anything to come to the musical theater program or the acting program at Ball State University. And the fact of the matter is, it's because the quality of the students is so high. We also have a program called the Giving Back to the Community Initiative, where every show has to go out into the community and has to work with some community organization that's hopefully connected to the show in some part, but also that's something that we can give back. So if any of you have any ideas for that, if any community organizations want to work with us, we are available, we are open, and we would love to do that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. That was great. Of course, one of our missions tonight is just knowledge and information, and you certainly are getting that tonight as well. So come on up. And as Betty comes up, this is Betty Brewer from Minnetrista. How about a round of applause for Betty? Betty did not hesitate when I contacted her about opening up the facilities tonight for this forum, and so we are grateful to her for that. So thank you very much, Betty. The floor is yours.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you, and welcome to my house. I also have the honor of serving as the president of Muncie Arts and Culture Council. Thank you, Ryan, for noting at least Steve Jobs. He is just a piece of the massive research that is out there in the world on the value of the arts to all learning, critical thinking, problem solving. It's just astounding. I'm going to piggyback on what Bill was just talking about when he was saying, and maybe going down to that, and how can we enhance the programs and what are the issues by giving some positive examples.
Sure.
And sorry about the athletics thing, but I'm not a sports person, so I don't go.
That's all right.
Come watch the halftime show. It's music.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect.
Nicely done.
Perfect.
Nicely done.
Love it. I was there last week. It was then halftime show was very good. But we have. Lee was talking about them. There are some wonderful partnerships and collaborations between many of our organizations and Ball State, and internships. One of my favorite best interns is now working for Terry in her department. Terrific things. And what makes them good? At Minnetrista, we have tremendous partnerships with the Glick Center for Glass, with literacy. MAC has an astounding partnership with the School of Art, and what makes them good is that we treat each other as equals. We recognize that we all bring something different to the table, we have different levels of expertise, and that it is expertise on both sides. we're not sitting here going, oh, poor us, if only we had some university who could tell us what to do and what's good for us. Nor are we going out saying, look, university, you don't know anything that's going on here. Let us tell you what's important and what to do.
Right.
It's that give and take and that back and forth. And that's what makes amazing differences. And it doesn't always happen.
Sure.
But when it does, it's just compelling. And that's where we can both serve each other. And it's not just how do we get people to the tremendous, amazing programs at the university. How do we get the university back over here? I know all of us on this side of Wheeling Avenue would love to figure that equation out. And so far, it seems to be when you find one individual student that's excited about something, they help bring people over here. So any ways we can figure out how to connect are great.
Great, great, thank you. So an interesting idea here on one card. I'd like to know how the panelists think Ball State could increase its involvement in First Thursday events. You know, First Thursday, a big arts event downtown. Wondering, anybody have any thoughts on that? And while you are maybe forming some answers for that, there are other questions on that card. So, you know, give that another read maybe as you're thinking about coming up. And what do we think? First Thursday?
We do our best. I'll be honest. It's very tough on Thursday night, but we're going to be. You'll notice a change this year with our involvement with First Thursday. We really target the one in October.
Okay.
Our students and ensembles are spread really thin in the fall. The first 8 weeks of the fall is really hard on them. So yes, we would love to do more. It's difficult, but we'll work harder if that's the comment. So.
Sure.
And as you know, the Better Together events that first weekend, one of the reasons we chose that weekend was the United Way Day of Action on that Thursday and First Thursday that night. And so we did have a more visible presence on that Thursday, and I think we will in October, and it's something that we can do better year in and year out.
Sure. Could you take a minute and just tell everyone how involved the university was that day? I think it's fantastic. You've already spoken about it at several events, but maybe everyone hasn't been at those events, so I think it's worth hearing again.
So the United Way Day of Action, which occurs every year, I think last year in the fall of 2016, we had about 60 faculty, staff, and students who volunteered in the fall of 2016, a year ago. This past year, we had 361 faculty and staff who volunteered at the United Way Day of Action. And the commitment that I've made to our friends at the United Way is that's not a one-off. We're already working to find out what worked well. By the way, they mobilized that in about 5 weeks. This next year, we're going to give them about a 5-month run-up and work more closely because we want to make sure that there are valuable projects out in the community for them to do. So we're going to continue to make that commitment to the United Way Day of Action again next fall as well.
Great, great. Come on up.
Good. Thanks. My name's Susan Atherton. I'm a retired music educator in Muncie and also a vocalist, a performer. Also retired. I have 2 or 3 things. First of all, transportation. You may very well want to get there, but if you're in an area that doesn't have a bus that comes back at 11 o'clock, you can't get there and you can't get your kids there. Number 2, yes, there are music and arts educators in all of the schools, and they are working more or less full-time and doing their very best. So, and those were the same educators as well as all the other teachers in the schools who worked to the very end of the school year without leaving. So, moving on. You may or may not have heard about STEM. And last week, you likely, or whenever you had your education, you likely heard a great deal about that. I would like to suggest, as others have, that an A be put in there and it becomes STEAM. It doesn't just stand for arts, it also stands for athletics. How's that? That's a segue? Okay.
There you go.
All right. Okay.
Nicely
good.
done.
Thank you. Anytime. Okay. So, but it is so important to have the interest of the students, especially we're talking middle school, high school. They're not going to come to arts events unless it meets them in the face every day. And there's so many arts organizations in Muncie that you maybe don't even know about, like the AGO, which is an association for organists. And how do you get a pipe organ to work? It's called the Bernoulli effect, and that's science. And you can put your hand over it. You can go in and see how that science works. What about the helmets that the boys wear? How does it protect them? That's science. We have technology. How else do we have form in music? Well, it happens in math. There are many, many artists and performers and musicians in Muncie who have the wherewithal to include their ideas into academic expectations. And I think that that's one way that you can get the children involved outside of school, is by putting it in their face every day. And I don't know, if you want some help putting all of those people together.
Thank you. So this is from a card. We have 4 organizations working for arts, Muncie Symphony Orchestra, Muncie Civic, Cornerstone, and Minnetrista, 2 maintaining historic buildings. How can we make sure that the established and the newer ones are working together? So, you know, an interesting question here. We have some representatives up here and some who have come up and spoke. What sort of initiatives are there where these groups are working together, or is that a challenge that still needs some work?
I can definitely speak to that one. I have my friends from Cornerstone and Minnetrista. Right now, we are in the process of renovating a very old and beautiful historic building. And what we have learned, and actually Marilyn and I were talking about this last night, as a matter of fact, at a different event. We can't do it alone, and we are all kind of operating in the same vein of finances. And so what we've been doing actually for the last 5 months is, if you've driven past Muncie Civic Theater, it's very dark and dusty right now. And so we're currently doing a children's production at High Street United Methodist Church. We did Midsummer here at Minnetrista. We're doing all of our rehearsing at Cornerstone. And that is how we've survived in downtown Muncie, really, is partnering together. And it's been a beautiful reciprocal partnership. And it's one of those things that I think none of us could survive if we weren't working together in that way.
Sure. President Mearns, you've done a lot of listening, so I'm going to ask you a question now finally. Do you get the sense that students understand some of these historic buildings that are available and in Muncie that they could experience it? Is that something that maybe could be addressed in some way to try to deepen their culture experience in Muncie?
Well, so I can't speak to whether the students are aware of the physical assets in Muncie, but I will share just one experience that gives me continued optimism about building that stronger bridge between the university and the community. And one of the people who spoke earlier talked about getting our students to come out to community arts events. And about 2 weeks before school started, I met with all of the RAs, all the resident hall assistants, about 150 undergraduate students, and I asked them, what did they think I needed to know about Ball State University? And first of all, after they told me where to get donuts and a fried pork tenderloin sandwich, one of the first suggestions from an undergraduate student was, how can we get more engaged in Muncie? This was from our undergraduate students. So clearly there is untapped potential there, and we have to, as a university community, reflect on how to tap that potential. But our students, many of our students, are yearning to become more involved in the community. So
that's great.
As I say, it makes me feel optimistic.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, go ahead. The great news is we're at about an hour, and that's sort of what we said this was going to be, but I think we're having such a great time. We'll keep going here for a little bit as long as the conversation stays lively. You guys are much more lively than the education crew was 2 weeks ago. So you guys, you were especially spirited. Right. Except for one person who was at last week. Yeah. No. Okay.
I'm Catherine Kennison. I am the director of the E.B. and Bertha C. Bowl Center next door. I came up to speak to something that Cornelius had said, and then Dr. Nelson, but several other people have said things that I want to say something about too. Because you don't know, I can't say just a little bit about nothing. But it is my privilege to have worked at the E.B. and Bertha C. Bowl Center, which is the historic mansion right next door here, for 23 years. And it just fell in my lap. There's no good reason I got the job, but I did. And I am shocked, surprised, taken aback every year at Christmas time, and Diane Waters, my colleague, can confirm this. When people come through, we have up to 7,000 people during the Luminaria Walk who come through all these areas, and they say, I always wondered what this was. Or, I didn't know this was here.
Sure.
I mean, we've been doing it 20 years. How many people are there in Muncie? I thought we were losing population, you know? But anyhow, that's just as an aside. But what can we do to bring the arts into the community? You brought this up first, Cornelius. And I am not from Muncie, although I am a galvanized Hoosier now. I am from Georgia, so you all know that I am a redneck, I am illiterate, you know, I'm all that stuff, because we all are. But when I was in school, grade school, back before the earth cooled, there was a program, and it started in first grade, and it went all the way through 7th grade, and it was called On Wings of Song. And it was every Wednesday after lunch from 1 o'clock to 1:05. And the radio station called WMAZ got together with Dr. Julius Golson, who was the what do you call that? Superintendent of public schools. And for 5 minutes, once a week, to every public school child in Macon, Georgia, over that intercom in the corner, remember that? They played classical music. And every child in Macon, Georgia, at every school, heard the intro, you know, for Mozart or Haydn or, you know, whomever. And you knew something. I mean, think about it. For 7 years, 5 minutes every Wednesday. Didn't cost anybody. I mean, that was, the only thing was you could, you know, you had to sit still. You could not get out of your seat. You couldn't go anywhere else, and they could slap snot out of us if we tried. So.
Not you, though.
Not me.
No.
You let I'll slap you. So there are, I think, easy ways that something like this could come up. And good Lord, here, with our music department, with our technology department, with our education department, our music education, why couldn't something, I mean, I used to just go bang on and on about this the first 10 years I was here. You know, nobody was interested. But maybe I'll mention it now, and maybe somebody would be interested.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. And she is paying attention whether or not you come to the Luminaria Walk. All right. Get it down on your calendar.
I'll be there.
Okay. Come on up, Jeff. All right.
Do you want me to hold the mic? Or
Sure. Whatever you want.
I'll take it.
Okay.
You might not get it back, but I'll take it. Yeah, I wanted to speak earlier, Ryan, you mentioned about the educational opportunities in Muncie and how it's much, much different than what it might be in Fishers and some of those places. And I would have to vehemently disagree with that 100%. Oh, sorry, my name is Jeff Robinson. I am the Director of Community Relations at Cornerstone Center for the Arts. I see, I know Minnetrista, Betty, the Muncie Symphony Orchestra, Cornerstone Center for the Arts, the Muncie Community Schools. There are a lot of really great educational opportunities here. I can't speak for Minnetrista or the Symphony, but I can certainly speak for Cornerstone and say that we serve over 2,300 students in over 100 different arts classes and workshops. My question is, how might Ball State University get more involved in that educational process where maybe some of your students, maybe yourself, students from the Fine Arts Department, instructors, professors, come out into the Muncie community and help with that educational process.
I think you might have misunderstood my comment. My comment is that I think Sue Atherton's probably still here. I think you guys both might have misunderstood. What I was trying to say is that we need to make sure that we are supporting a music education within the public school in Muncie. I feel like there are programs that we could be supporting and doing better. Like, for example, just off the cuff, we're going through our 3rd and 4th and 5th band director at Muncie Central. There's something going on that we have a revolving door of music teachers, and there's something about why can't Muncie, in partnership with Ball State University School of Music, or in partnership with the School of Art or the School of Department of Theater and Dance, why aren't we, just like you're saying, in the schools, making sure that the best programs are in Muncie? There was a time when they were, and we've had a tough financial, we've had a tough road financially in Muncie, and a lot of times when we have a tough financial road in the public schools, the first thing that's cut are athletics and the arts. Sure. And how could Ball State University support that? I was not trying to refer to the entire arts experience. My son Joshua has had an amazing arts experience here in Muncie through the Civic Theater, and has been welcomed with open arms and has done a great thing. Now, to answer your question, we reach out to the public schools, and we reach out. I would love to sit down and talk with you about how to work with Cornerstone to maybe get our students, because our students need to learn how to teach kids. So if they have real kids to teach, then and I would be happy if we can get a bus going between Ball State and Cornerstone with a load of music majors and potentially grad students and faculty teaching down at Cornerstone. By all means, we'll talk after we're done here.
And I think to the Muncie Community Schools, there are supplemental educational programs throughout Muncie, and ones that are also very affordable. We at Cornerstone have, a mantra: the access for arts to all, no matter socioeconomics, anything. We provide scholarships, financial aids to those students. I know some of the other programs in the community do as well. So, when budget constraints, when things might happen in school districts, whether it's Muncie Community Schools, whether it's the county schools, whomever it may be, there are some supplemental educational programs within the community, also at Civic. So, I would encourage those people, if at school, music programs, theater education programs, arts programs in general, if anything has been cut, do some research, look out there in the community. We are here, Cornerstone, Civic, Minnetrista, Symphony Orchestra. We're all here to serve, and I would encourage anyone, if you want to find an arts education class, to reach out to one of us, and we'll make that happen for you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
And I'd just like to add on to that, because I do think that a lot of times when we receive at Muncie Civic Theater volunteers, they're people who have some sort of interest in the arts. They're students that are studying or professors. But one area that I would love to see grow and develop is business majors. Marketing directors. Did I steal your thunder? That's our fantastic marketing director. But my background, I ran a jewelry store with my father, and what I've learned through my experience with Muncie Civic Theater and managing our large budget and things like that is that, boy, we could use some help in pretty much almost any. Don't send an archaeologist over, but other than that, I think we could probably. And if it's an archaeologist that will take out the trash, we'll hire him too. So we'll take them, but maybe if professors thinking outside the box would look at our organizations and go, golly, we have an accounting major. Well, we have a budget that they could help us with. So things like that would be fantastic, and that's partially on us. We generally look for people in the theater department to help us, which definitely we still want those people. But looking outside the box and seeing that there's some valuable business opportunities in all of the arts in Muncie.
Okay, so all good things must come to an end. We're going to take 2 more comments or questions, and then we'll give each of our panelists a moment to give some final thoughts if they'd like to. So go ahead.
My name is Brittany Covert. Like she said, I'm the marketing coordinator at Muncie Civic. But what's more interesting to me is I'm born and bred in Muncie, Indiana. I went to Ball State University, and the second I graduated, the Monday I graduated, I got out of here, because that is the measure of success at Ball State University, is anywhere but here, is the key phrase that Ball State students use, is anywhere but Muncie. And, you know, life happened and I came back here, and it took me 32 years to be proud of this place that I've grown up in and spent most of my childhood and all of my childhood and most of my adult life. And people are, how do we instill this pride? And it wasn't until I was involved in an arts and culture aspect of Muncie that I found that pride, and I found how many people are proud of this place. And there are people in this room that are so proud to be here, and how do we find that pride for these students? And most of it is through this volunteering, because that's where they find meaning and worth and their footing in life. But until we can change that mindset of anywhere but here or Muncie, we're trying. I don't know how to get people to build that bridge, because this is just a stopover.
Okay, great. So not to put words in your mouth, but how do we keep Ball State students in Muncie? This is obviously a huge point of focus for Muncie residents and businesses, and maybe the arts and culture scene is the way to do it. So and definitely an interesting thought. Okay, last comment, and then we will hand it over to our panelists for one last comment.
Thank you. I feel the pressure now of finishing this panel. Okay, I'm Alina McKenzie, and currently I work for Indiana Public Radio and WIPP Public Television here in Muncie. But I also used to work for Muncie Symphony Orchestra as executive director from 2011 to 2015. So I'm very familiar with the arts community, and actually worked with pretty much everybody on this panel. But I also am a resident of Muncie, and I have 2 kids, and as soon as I'm Ball State graduate too. So combination of many things. But I being on and around campus for about 15 years since I moved to Muncie from way overseas, as you can tell by my accent. I'm not from around here. I jumped on every opportunity that is here in town to expose my kids and my family to anything that is being offered. My 6-year-old is now taking a class at Ball State, art class. It's on a Saturday, 9:30 to 10:30, and it's full. You know, when we signed up, the first and second grade, I think they didn't even have any room, and they have, I think, 7 groups that are all full for kids from 1st grade to 5th grade. And he is also taking a class at Cornerstone Center for the Arts. He's taking a dance class here. My older kid had a class here. So I'm saying, I'm trying, on campus, off campus doesn't really matter to me, but some of the things, maybe more of those type of classes, like an art class where students are actually teaching that class under the direction of the faculty. So maybe pottery class. I mean, any music, we have a music, I know there's a music class as well that's being offered, but more of those opportunities, and maybe bringing some of those instructors to Cornerstone to do off and on-site kind of branch out. I know it takes resources. But also, as you know, I know about a lot of this, and we need to be proactive in seeking those opportunities, not wait until, you know, nonprofits reach out or say, well, could you do this for us? But kind of seek out. But the only way we can be proactive if faculty actually leave in Muncie. And that is, you know, I know about a lot of things because I'm here. If you live outside of town, you don't know about everything that's going on in town. So you can't really plug in as well. So encouraging, I don't know if it's possible, but encouraging more faculty to be residing in Muncie might help with, you know, blending that bound, you know, barrier that exists currently. And then finally, just to say, you know, in terms of promotion for athletics and things, I'm also not a sports fan, sorry. but I know there is an event here actually at Minnetrista, one of the free events in summer where Ball State Marching Band combines with the Muncie Symphony Orchestra. And so that enhances symphony performance, but it also gives exposure to the band. And at that event, there is a heavy promotion for the first game of the season, a football game of the season. So I'm thinking maybe more of that type of, where there is a performance at Civic, and there are some, you know, Ball State students in the cast, you know, plugging one of the upcoming events that's coming up in the theater. And I know there is a lot, so you have to pick and choose and kind of figure out which ones are more important to promote. So
Thanks.
Sure, great thoughts. President Mearns, I know you have spoken to this issue of Ball State faculty not living in Muncie. That came up at our last forum, probably a topic that's on everybody's mind and worth addressing again. And then we will kick it down to you, Tom, and work our way back for final thoughts, okay?
Do I get a final thought too?
You do.
Okay.
This is not your final thought.
Okay, good. So first of all, the statistics in terms of where our faculty and staff live are not as bad as people's perceptions. So well over 75% of our staff live in Delaware County. And somewhere around 70 to 75% of our full-time faculty also live in Delaware County. What has changed, which I believe has fostered this perception, is that if you look at the age dispersion of those faculty, it's those who are more senior who are living in Muncie and Delaware County, and that the trend has been away. So it is something that is very much on my radar screen, and I would just simply say to you, stay tuned, because it's something that I think we all at the university and at Ball Memorial Hospital believe is something that we can do more of.
Okay, great. Tom, your final thoughts, and then we'll work our way back to President Mearns for some final comments.
Okay, final thoughts. I mean, it should be clear from this discussion how many opportunities and organizations there are in this community for arts and culture, but I think you touched on such an important point, because if the mentality of students is that after graduation they need to leave town, that's something that we need to correct. And I think our way forward on that, quite honestly, is if we think of Muncie itself as a work of art.
Well said. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel. It's been very helpful to hear all the ideas from the audience. And I only wish that the museum and the art collection could go into the community, but I know that isn't realistic. So I will just share that I am open to all kinds of outreach ideas. I look forward to seeing everybody at Arts Walk. The museum has an outreach table at every community event that we are invited to, and we just had a very successful experience with Be My Neighbor Day at Cannon Commons. That was excellent to reach hundreds of people in just 3 hours. It was amazing. We are going to keep brainstorming about how to do more active community-oriented things beyond the walls of the museum. And I will just mention that we do have Owsley Moments, which Indiana Public Radio was very helpful in producing for us, and that students in an art history class wrote about the collection. So maybe, Catherine, that's the opportunity to get people listening to and learning about art. It's actually on the radio, and you can download any of those files. My last thought is that wherever we can insert the STEM subjects to relate to art and remind people about STEAM, we do. And in fact, we have another exhibition opening called Engaging Technology 2, Art plus Science. So you must come and see that on Friday as well. So I've enjoyed listening, and I certainly hope that I can partner with as many of you as possible in the future. Thank you. And I might add, not just me, but my colleagues too.
Well, I'd like to thank President Mearns for this opportunity to meet with the panel and also with the citizens of Muncie to talk about what we can do to extend art and culture in the community. And I'd like to maybe point out some ways that the Muncie Public Library is doing that, and we're always looking for ways to increase. So I've got your number. I'm going to look for you and give you my business card. Those of you who talked about local organizations that can partner with the library to bring music to other populations within the city. We have Bad Art Night. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Bad Art Night, which was something I thought was pretty interesting when I've only been in Muncie 8 months. I said, Bad Art Night, what's that? So I went to the Cornerstone Center for the Arts and experienced it. And it's a very wonderful feeling, because you don't have to be an artist. It's a way to, get that stress out. So that's something that we do at the Muncie Public Library. And then we just had one, we had over 35 people attend. Is that right, Dan? We had one just last week. Another thing we provide at the Muncie Public Library to increase arts, visual arts, is exhibition space at Kennedy. We also have space at the Marion Hunt Library. We have lots of empty walls. So local artists, students, faculty, otherwise, we'd like to share our space with you. Please contact us about displaying some of your art within the libraries. That is a possibility. Lori Lunsford, who was our artist in residence in our atrium, you're here, Lori, created a book of her artwork, and it was done within the library. So we have space for you to just sit and be creative. We have that in the Muncie Public Library. And lastly, I'd like to put in a plug for the book, the literature, the other part of the arts. Of course, we have that. We have books in print, and we have books electronically, and you can download them, you can check them out. If they're overdue, you can renew them online, all of those wonderful things that you can do now. And we have programs featuring artists and authors from the state of Indiana, and also local artists. We have the History Center downtown, so we try to include all of the different parts of the arts and culture. The local history, Muncie, we have that center downtown. So the library tries to cover the waterfront, and I think we do a wonderful job, and with your help, we can do even more. Thank you for this opportunity.
I'd like to thank President Mearns for hosting this event and inviting me to be on the panel. We host 300 or so events in the School of Music, but I want to keep my closing thought short and sweet. I'm an administrator, so I have to make decisions and solve problems a lot. So this is my charge to you. I would be happy to be in charge of trying to figure out a way to have some sort of either electronic or published come-all to where everybody's, whatever their arts community is going to be happening throughout the entire, that's my takeaway, is that we don't know what each of us are doing. And I will reach out to some of the folks that I saw tonight, and we'll figure out how we can put that together. The second thing that I would propose that we should do as a organization, or a bunch of organizations, would be, why couldn't we, in this very room or in this very center, at the beginning of the school year, have some sort of arts expo where, each of the organizations that has something that's to offer the community, people could come and talk with those people, or community members could come in and just see what it is that we all have to offer. Each of us could have a little table, be a little science fair, around the room, because I think that is true, that we feel like we're getting our message out. But obviously what I'm learning from you tonight is we're not doing a very good job of it. So that's what I'm going to take away back to my college and the College of Fine Arts. The last thing that I think we need to solve, and I'll talk with the President's office and various, is this transportation issue. I think that if we had targeted events that, maybe we could have some of the, Ball State, MITS bus or a Ball State bus in targeted areas to where we could come and get you and bring you to campus for signature events. I think that seemed to be a no-brainer to me when that was brought up, that we should be able to figure that out. I just dropped off a car. I came from Madison, Wisconsin at 6 in the morning, drove straight here today, and I dropped my Ball State University vehicle off, and there was 8 buses back there. I think we could probably let loose of one to figure that out. So my charge is, I could talk about the School of Music forever. I love the School of Music, but I think what we really want to do tonight is solve some problems, right? So I will get in contact with the Muncie Area Arts Council and some of the leaders of the various organizations to figure out how we can partner with some sort of publication, some sort of electronic or whatnot, to try to share our ideas. Yes? I think it needs to be an immersive learning project. So that's something that I will try. Great.
As I listen to everyone, the thing that was overwhelming is we have so many people in an arts and culture discussion that they're sitting outside the room. That's pretty amazing, and I was sitting here thinking, Muncie makes Ball State cool, and Ball State makes Muncie cool. it's such an amazing reciprocal relationship. And I think the key is to continue this conversation. I've been so impressed that you're interested in hearing from us. That's so important. And it's amazing when someone pops up with an idea and then Ryan's kind of stewing while he's sitting here, and all of a sudden we've got something good going on. You know, at Muncie Civic Theater, we are a theater for the whole community. Our goal is to make it accessible to everyone, both physically. If you are, I always call it tree number 4 because that's who I am. I don't have any talent, but I just love the theater. But when I think about, I'm forever cast as tree number 4. But yes. So, but at any rate, when I think about how we can work together, I just want to say again that partnership in all areas. Muncie Civic Theater, the value is that we have a shoestring budget, so we have all this work to do and not enough people to do it. And I would just love so much to see Ball State coming to us with ideas like, hey, because when I think about me at 20 trying to find a job as a college kid, I think about those resume builders and things like that, and I just want to invite anyone and everyone that's interested to approach us. Hey, I've got this business idea. Hey, immersive learning, we have amazing projects. Ryan and I were at a fundraiser together, and out of a 15-minute conversation came the idea. We have a very beautiful, amazing, and we have lots of people in this room that were a part of it, children's program. And one thing that we don't have is an orchestral program for our kids. So we have talked about that. And I think the key is just if we're all willing, as people who care about the arts in Muncie and Ball State University, if we're all willing to keep having conversations and things like that, I just feel like something really huge is going to happen.
It's all yours.
Great. So 2 points. First of all, I want to respond specifically to your suggestion about STEAM, and I hope you have come to appreciate that the arts at Ball State is not a secondary activity, but is a principal activity, and we feel very strongly about STEAM. And I'll give you just one example of it. Some of you may be familiar with this notion of living learning communities, which is in higher education bringing learning environments, laboratories, classrooms, those activities into the residence halls. Well, the next residence hall that we're going to build, the one that you may have heard about, the one that will begin construction next fall, will be a living learning community for STEM students. And it will follow 3 years after we've already opened one for our art students. So we have arts living learning communities already in our residence halls before we're building one for STEM. The second and final point is to express my appreciation to all of you. First of all, I think while they were very modest at the outset, suggesting why they weren't sure where they were invited, I hope you now understand why these 5 partners and colleagues were invited to join us. So thank you for doing it. Betty, thank you very much for opening up your home to have this event. Greg, thank you and the Star Press, you for moderating and the Star Press for working with us to promote and facilitate these events. And thank you. I think as Lee said, there's no more encouraging sign to me as one of the newest members of the community, no more encouraging sign about the vibrant future that we're going to build together than your presence and participation today. So we've got a small army in this room and an even larger army all across this city. And we now just need to mobilize it and fulfill the potential that we have together. So thank you.
And thank you. Thank you, President Mearns, for being willing to do this. Obviously, this is a huge step forward in the conversation between the university and the city and how things can work better together. And there are so much more things to talk about. It struck me as they were making their closing statements. I spent a few minutes out at the sign-in table, was looking through some of the literature, and there's a fantastic book supplied by the university out there, all the arts and culture happenings on campus. And not one person even mentioned the planetarium. And we have so much going on that we can't even fit it all in, right? So there is a lot of really amazing things going, and I hope that this is the catalyst for continued conversation, continued exploration for not only all of you, but I hope that you take this message to someone else in the community. The Star Press was very proud to put this together tonight, and we're very happy that you came tonight. So thank you all for being here. We hope that you will take time out of your busy schedules to attend our third and final Community Better Together Forum, which will be at 6 p.m. on October 12th. And we have several representatives here tonight from Cornerstone who, like Betty, opened up their facility for that. So we look forward to having you there. The topic of discussion will be economic development, and we expect that if all of you come, it will be a lively discussion. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Have a safe drive home. Good night.